day everyone. Thank you for being here today. I am Karen Jade H. Akau from BTLED HE1C. I am here today with my group mates to talk to you about the realism and philosophy of education. So first, what is the meaning of realism? The term realism comes from the Latin realis, who is to be really, really real. Realism refers to the things exist whether or not the human mind perceives them. There are two main persons behind the realism philosophy. First, Aristotle. Aristotle was the leading proponent of realism and the first philosopher to develop a systematic theory of logic. Second, Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas epitomized the scholasticism of the Middle Age. Scholasticism is an approach that emphasizes the human's eternal soul and salvation. There are 5 fundamental principles of realism. Phenomenal world is true. Second, senses are the doors of knowledge. Third, opposition of idealism. Fourth, man is a part of material world. And the last one is emphasis on experiment and observation. Values in realism philosophy. Seeing is believing. Belief is the present life. Knowledge is real. Reality is discovered, not made.
Forms of realism in education. Scholastic realism. The educational philosophy of scholastic realism is essentially dualistic. Dualistic, it means it recognizes both natural and supernatural. The primary function of the mind in the world is that of cognition. Scholastic realists believe that change is not completely rolled out from scholastic system. Goodness is commended to children as divine command. Humanistic realism. Humanistic realism in education is the reaction against the emphasis on form and style of the old classical literature. It has a great regard for the ancient literature, but it emphasizes the study of content and ideas in the ancient classical literature to understand one's present social life and environment. The aim is not to study the form and style of all literature to have mastery over it. The study of all literature is means to understand the practical life. History, geography, Catalias, Artaxalastra are the subjects and books should be studied for this purpose. Erasmus, 1446 to 1537. Rabelais, 1483 to 1553. John Milestone, 1608 to 1674 were the supporters of this faculty. Social realism. Social realism in education is the reaction against a type of education that produces scholars and professional men to the neglect of the man of affairs. Ideas, practice. Education should not produce men who are unfit in social life. The purpose of education according to the social realist is to prepare the practical man of the world. Social realism explains that education should equip learners for a happy and successful life as a man of the world.
What is sense realism? Sense realism is the theory of naive realism, or also known as direct realism, perceptual realism, or common sense realism. In other words, philosophy of perception and philosophy of mind is that the senses provide us with direct experience of objects as they are. Sense realism is founded on the idea that knowledge is largely acquired through the senses. Natural events were seen as a source of knowledge and truth by the sense realist, who saw education as a natural rather than an artificial process. The second one is neorealism. Neorealism or structural realism is a state of the international system, means that the states cannot be certain of other states' intentions and their own security, corrupting them to engage in power politics. Neorealism is one of the two most significant current approaches to international relations from 1960s through the 1990s. The two perspectives dominated international relations theory. And the last one is realism and the teacher. Realism and the teacher should be trained before they begin teaching, according to realism. Teachers, according to realism, should have a understanding of the subject matter, learner psychology, and the scientific method of delivering education. Instead of restricting themselves to an investigation of their own beliefs, realist educators urge pupils to take their observations as well as conclusions from the reality around them.
School organization influenced by realism. School organization would be based on the real needs of the society. It is not proper that a college should be established due to political pressure at a place when it is not needed. Second, the opening of science classes in every school is a must. Only academic and literary subjects are not sufficient to fulfill the need of the society. Third, realism doesn't oppose co-education. It is a natural happening, so it cannot be rejected. Fourth, school is the mirror of the society. It is a miniature form of society, and it represents the real picture of the society. Realism in the classroom. The method of teaching according to realism is to abstract from the personality of both teachers and the pupils and allow the facts to speak for them. In the process of presenting facts, the teacher is not expected to express his subjective opinion on the matter. He has to present the fact as they are and must not add anything on his own. And also, the facts must be presented in clear and distinct manner, and no detraction from the facts should be allowed. So, in conclusion, realism provides a new light and wisdom which produces remarkable changes in the principles and practices of education.